This week on At Home in Faith, Mike McNulty of the Office of Stewardship and Development discusses the Lenten practice of almsgiving.
Well, what do stewardship and Lent really have in common? I think it's about how they're both trying to help us change ourselves by focusing on both God and others. Really, it comes down to those two great commandments. First of all, to love God with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our mind, and all of our strength. And secondly, to love our neighbor as ourselves. So if we think about it, stewardship really is just that. It's simply the grateful response of every Christian disciple to share our God-given gifts and to share them in a way that helps others do those same two things, to love God first and foremost, and then to love others. So what are these gifts? Really, these are everything and everyone in our lives. Everything is a gift from God. Of course, our skills and our talents and our abilities and even our treasure, our finances, those are all wonderful gifts from God. But if we think about it, truly everything is. The street we're walking down is a gift from God. The sky we ponder is a gift from God. The water we drink, the air that fills our lungs and keeps us alive, that's all a gift from God. And all the people we interact with as well. Our parents are a gift from God. Our kids, our spouse, our friends, our coach, our teacher, those are all truly gifts from God. Everything that we have and all that we encounter in this world is given to us by God. First of all, so we can love Him and love Him even better. Secondly, so that we can learn to love others. Now, those who embrace the stewardship way of life live this out through how we really invest our time and our talent and our treasure. I'm sure you've heard time, talent, and treasure. It's how we invest our time, talent, and treasure in these areas of hospitality, in the area of prayer life, in how we share teaching, and how we serve others. Traditionally speaking, the church would talk about this in the areas of how we live out our lives in the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. So what are those corporal and spiritual works of mercy? First of all, corporal works of mercy: to feed the hungry, to give drink to the thirsty, to shelter the homeless, to visit the sick, visit the prisoner, to bury the dead, and to give alms to the poor. Now the spiritual works of mercy: to instruct the ignorant, to counsel the doubtful, to admonish the sinner, to comfort the sorrowful, to bear wrongs patiently, to forgive offenses willingly, and to pray for both the living and the dead. Now, if we think about it, all those wonderful things, those are all really ways that we can use the gifts that God has given us to love God even better and to love and serve others. Now, how that's going to look for each and every one of us is completely different because of who we are. God made us in His image and His likeness, but He made us different. Just like different parts of the body and different parts of the church, we're all different. So how we live that out looks very different depending on what God's placed on our heart, the passions that we have. So let's take a look at Lent now. Lent is the perfect time to kind of think about and challenge ourselves through these same things. Lent starts on Ash Wednesday by reminding us that all we have is gift from God. We get our ashes, and what does the priest say? The priest says, "Remember your dust, and unto dust you'll return." The world and everything in it will amount to dust, nothing but dust. And what's important is how we treat God and how we treat others. The church traditionally guides us during Lent, asking us to focus on prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, right? Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. We hear that over and over again. And I suggest that these are just another way to think about and to practice stewardship. Think about how we live out the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. Both Lent and stewardship help us to get outside of ourselves, to get outside of our own heads by focusing on God and focusing on others. The church, in her wisdom, gives us this real compelling season of Lent as a season to look inward and to seek time in our own personal desert. Time to challenge ourselves and to remember that we're dust, and unto dust we will return. And also to challenge ourselves through the way that we invest the gifts that God has so generously given to us through our prayer, through our fasting, and through our almsgiving. We all should be thinking through and asking ourselves, why do we labor? We should ask ourselves, what is our work and our life really mean, we should be asking ourselves to who we and our life's work really belong. Again, these are the same questions that we wrestle with as we grow a stewardship heart. And both stewardship and Lent come back to the same thing, changing ourselves so that we can love God better, we can serve God better, and we can love and serve others. Thank you, God bless, and happy Lent.
Here are some discussion questions for you and your family this week. How has the Lord blessed you and your family? What gifts are you most grateful for? What gifts are you called to share with others, especially as we make our 40-day journey through Lent? And how can your family's observance of Lent through the practices of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving draw you closer to Christ and prepare to celebrate his resurrection at Easter? And here's a challenge for you and your family to undertake this week. Set up an alms jar somewhere in your home. Throughout Lent, when you place your offering in the jar, say a small prayer for the poor, the hungry, the dying, and others in need. From all of us at the Diocese of Lafayette-in-Indiana, may God continue to bless you and your family.